Thank you very much. Larry the K sitting in with me today.
Hi, Chuck.
Hi.
How are you?
Been enjoying your time here.
I just had somebody text me. I don't know who it is. I lost all my contacts around December, not backing things up to the cloud.
Oh, there you go.
And got to pay that tax. And he wondered if the station, if hell froze over since I'm in here.
Well,
are you cold?
I mean,
man, you cold?
Yeah, I'm freezing.
You cold, babe?
I'm frozen over here.
I actually walked in here today and I was like, it's really cold in here.
Or it's just really hot outside. I mean, that could be part of it too.
I don't know. I wore the sweatshirt here.
Yeah. So Larry the K is joining us.
Yeah, how you doing?
I invited him back. I said it's nice to have a blast from the past, some voices from past voices here.
Right.
WJOB. But you said you had a couple.
It is the 101st anniversary.
It is the 101st. It's our. Wait, don't steal my pen. I need that.
Oh yeah, you need that.
Thank you.
Sorry.
But you wanted to do a couple PSAs as we go. So if you're ready, you can hit a couple, or we can do them later. Whatever. You want to do.
Not necessarily PSAs or such. But I do have a lot of friends in the area, and I just thought I'd give them some free pops here. Let's do it. Number one is my buddy Josh Becerra over at Region Records in downtown Highland. Have you been there, Chuck?
I have not been there. I've heard good things.
2720 Highway Avenue in Highland. Phone number 219-427-7379. Vinyl's in.
My daughter has been asking me about vinyl. I'm like, I got to go somewhere.
Isn't that crazy?
Somewhere in the basement, I've got an old Radio Shack record player. I have to go bust that out.
Right. Isn't that great?
Isn't
that
fun?
Great? My niece, she's like, Uncle Larry, do you have any vinyls? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, those things you put on. I said, the record.
Yeah.
You don't call them vinyls, or that's what they're made out
of. Got any
of.
stacks of wax?
But, as along with vinyl, so is the new and vintage equipment that goes along with that.
Right.
That stuff is hot again, too, man.
Oh, yeah.
I was up at ABT up in northern Illinois. Where is that? Around Lisle?
Yeah, Glenview.
Glenview. My God, all the components that they have, and affordable to out of reach.
Yeah.
Amazing.
If you've seen, they do the most with their vinyls now, artists, they do, it's different colors. They got pictures,
Yep. Which they've done for years. It's just the fact that there's a new audience for it. It's cool. It's neat.
I mean, I love vinyls. I know I got one for my girlfriend, the Wicked playlist one from the new Ariana Grande for her birthday.
Right on. How nice.
She loves it. So
good.
I mean, it's definitely coming back in.
Yeah,
I love vinyls, so maybe I'll check it out.
That's crazy though. We again cyclical. We went from a giant wall of components back down to the iPod.
Yep.
Now we're going back the other way again.
So make sure you go visit Region Records at 2720 Highway Avenue in Highland. Let Josh guide you through his thousands of LPs, 45, 78s, and some 16s sitting around, too, I'm telling you, right? In all genres of music. The dude's got everything. You want Bolivian wedding music? The dude's got it. I'm telling you. I'm going to
challenge you on that. I'm going to go in and say, Larry sent me for Bolivian wedding music.
He sells professionally refurbished vintage audio equipment, and some of the cooler things in that store. If the store stuff itself isn't cool enough, he's also got a lot of Region music collectibles. He's got an old Woodmar Records jacket hanging up there. He's got a couple of Hegwish Records T-shirts. I don't think they're for sale, but to go look at. So check out Region Records now. If you like records, I bet you like collectibles. You like collectibles, pop culture stuff?
Yes.
You want to go see Josh's dad, Joe, over at 208 East Main Street in Griffith. That's Region Collectibles.
Okay.
You want to see Joe. Joe's open Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday from 12 to 6, 219-513-9219. Check him out on Facebook. He's got everything, comic books, records, toys, board games, anything you need. He'll get for you.
That's fantastic. Thank you for those.
He'll get for you.
It's always a little disheartening when I go in there and I see what some of my classic toys are fetching.
Right.
Like, man, if I would have just not,
The Star Wars Hoth playset, I had two of them. There was a mix-up at Christmas when Empire Strikes Back came out. I had two of them. I don't know where the hell they are now. I can get $50 each just for the plastic shell. It's crazy.
Well, I made the mistake. I used to blow up most of my toys, like in Toy Story, and now I look back, I'm like, man,
we had our little world diplomacy training too.
I used to bomb for peace in my neighborhood. That's where I first started. So we do have some calls.
Yes, please.
Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Today is like that last day before laundry day.
Uh-oh.
When you're getting dressed in the morning and you reach into your underwear drawer and you got that one last hoard out pair of underwear with holes in it, and that's all you got left. Larry the K is the last day before laundry day pair of underwear as far as it relates to WJOB co-hosts.
Why do you say
All
that?
right.
Why do you say that?
So bottom of the barrel.
I mean that facetiously. I kid. Larry,
I don't
you
see
know I
Matt
love
Baker sitting around here.
Oh.
I love you, Larry. As a matter of fact, I know they haven't called Harlow in, so you're not the last pair of
Oh
underwear.
no, Harlow was on 2 weeks
I
ago.
was on a few weeks ago.
You missed it. You
Oh,
were
you gotta
probably
be
you were
kidding
probably
me.
on one of
Oh,
your
you
many
gotta be-
vacations.
You got to be kidding
No,
me.
no, your boy was here. You missed him.
Oh, boy. Hey, as it relates to, hey, great to hear your voice, by the way, Larry.
Thank you, David.
As the conversation relates to immigration, I would disagree. You made it perfectly clear, Larry, that you're a third generation American.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as you well know, my mom and dad got off the boat in '56. I'm first generation.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, I would think a vast majority of the legal immigrants that are in our country right now would agree with what Trump's doing and his immigration policy.
Did you ask him?
Contrary, I've asked quite a
Well,
few.
the polling does show that overwhelmingly people that are immigrants in this country support policy.
Let's understand, Dave, that if a person is here illegally, no matter how they got here, they're just here illegally, and they commit crimes. Now let's talk. What are crimes? Is it shoplifting?
Hold on. Not to interrupt, but you've already committed a crime by being here illegally. But I digress. Go ahead.
Well, that's the core of the
well,
argument.
if you digress, then why'd you say it?
Well, that's the core of your argument.
We got that.
So that becomes their point, is that the very act of coming here makes you illegal.
Yeah,
makes
we get
you
it.
committing a crime.
So,
and that's the core of the argument. So, but go ahead.
So let's just look at that crime. A 3-year-old is brought here on the back of her mother across the Rio Grande. Is that child liable for that crime?
Well, no, the parent's responsible.
Okay, parent dies once parent dies of some disease, which does happen, or dies along the way. Is the child responsible?
Well, we as a country are responsible to do a better job keeping those people out. And we're doing that. And we're doing that now.
Keeping them out. Keeping those people out.
No, hold on. Keeping them out until they go through the process legally and come in the right way.
Mm-hmm. Which is what was happening through the CBP app. Okay, Dave. Okay, got it.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't.
All right.
But anyway,
you know people that were using that, right?
We'll agree to disagree. Great to hear your voice
Answer
again,
my
Larry.
question. You know people that were using that were actively going through that process, right?
It was a flawed system. Our borders were wide open.
Answer the question. Do you know people
I do.
who were going through that process?
I do.
Okay, good. Thank you for answering. So you know it's a little more complicated than that.
It was a flawed system. It didn't work, and the ship is being righted right now.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Thank
All
God.
right.
Okay, we appreciate the call. Okay, so this
have a good day, Dave. See you around.
This becomes the crux of the issue, and one of the things as a libertarian, our policy has been sort of an open borders policy, which I don't agree with, because I believe you can't have a successful country with sort of a porous just come in and go ahead.
And right.
Okay, so we agree. So this is the thing that I want to get to. The reason I invite people of different opinions and different voices is because I want to find some common ground here. I want to see. So one of the things that we always talk about is when people talk about, build the wall. So, well, that solves half the problem because the other half come in and basically overstay visas.
Right.
So we can agree that there is a huge demand and a huge need for people to immigrate here. And so this becomes the core of the issue is I look at it sort of put the numbers aside and look at it as a humanitarian issue. One of the problems I've always had is when you come here illegally, you become sort of this invisible citizen that can't call the police. You can't use a lot of services. You can't call OSHA if somebody, and that becomes one of the problems is you have millions of people in this country that are now sort of invisible citizens. I could hire you all
for
day.
For years, for centuries.
Well, okay, so that
decades.
So that becomes the core of the issue is I could hire somebody, say I'm going to pay you $200 to help me all day, and then when they're done, say, nah, I'm not going to pay you. What are you going to do about it?
So are you looking at the capitalist business aspect of hiring immigrants?
So I'm looking at both sides of it. I'm looking at the humanitarian aspect of it, of what happens when you have millions of people that are here sort of invisibly, right? They don't have, they're paying, if you're working, you're paying into the system, and that becomes all these, the crux of the argument is you're paying into systems that you don't get to use. you don't,
or you have limited use,
or
of.
you have limited use
right.
of.
Right.
There's a risk to using the system.
Mm-hmm.
Depending
Certainly
on
now.
where you are, certainly now. So this becomes the issue: is now there's no going back. There's no putting this genie back in the bottle. We have millions of people that are here illegally, whatever you want to define that as.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do? Do we grant blanket amnesty? Do we just say, okay, well, you're here now?
Reagan did it.
Well, and so that becomes the question: is what would be the challenges of doing that? Or even there's people that talk about, for instance.
Yeah, right.
I know. No, I got
it's
this.
That,
this.
It's that cold brew coffee.
No,
man.
you know what?
I
get that
bro.
tickle in my throat, and like
Oh.
I get that thing in my. I've had a
broadcaster's friend.
Right.
Yes.
So, even the idea of there's so many people that are illegally in California that it changes the number of congressional seats that they have and things like that, and so. It's basically
well, they're not citizens, but they're going to count them as citizens for political end, right?
Well, and that's the question, right?
There we go.
That's the thing, is that both sides have an argument, and both sides are hypocrites, which is why it makes my job so much fun.
Goes back to your 3/5 compromise. Come on, man. This
okay,
is 250 some years old.
Not
bro.
even going to hit that.
Come on.
So, okay, but that becomes the question: is so now you're at this point, you've got tens of millions of people here illegally,
right?
Many of them, most of them, and this is that sort of the thing, is that most of them come here, they lay low, they work, they do their thing, they live their life.
They go about their business of being a human being.
Right, which
yes.
is what we want. And so this becomes the problem, though, is that you end up with a situation where both sides push back so hard. So, like, even in the case of, like, say, a major city, like what's happening in L.A. with the protests or in Chicago, where you basically say it goes so far one way that you say, even if you're a criminal, we're not going to help ICE. We don't want ICE here at all. We don't.
Criminal.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what's the criteria? Are they going to go back to 1996 Ira law and say, well, you were caught shoplifting a pop back in 1975, so now you're on our radar? That's already happening. That is already in law, and has been since about 96 or 97, since Clinton, who signed that law. That itself is very flawed, but it was under pressure from, hey, blah, 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 the criminals. Well, I don't know what they could have done different. I don't know. But that's already there. People miss this. Well, this and this and this. Okay, when I was a kid, I shoplifted a carton of milk from the local convenience store, some candy bars.
Okay.
Right? And I got caught. Dude said, don't do it again, and if you do... Right? I'll tell your dad who's in here every day buying his cigarettes.
Okay.
Fine, fair enough. Was I banned from the store? No. Was I allowed back? Yes. Was I treated as a regular customer or in the customer of good standing before I made that choice? Yes. So why, that little example right there, why can't we apply that to somebody who's just trying to get by life? Everybody needs somewhere to live. They do. And if they want to come here to this country, let's agree, probably the best country to live in the whole world, all right, as we know it, then why not? Then let's look at that. What do they want? And then start crafting legislation to make sure that can happen for people who want to leave oppression, political corruption, cartels, wars, natural disasters like we saw in Honduras and Guatemala around 2020 with the 2 or 3 hurricanes back to back. And yet we treat these people, and this goes your argument last week, brown people, we treat brown people who come here looking for a new life. They are clearly not all criminals, just like here in this room, there's 4 of us. Statistically, one of us has done something a little shady here and there.
Don't look at me.
Okay, well,
I'm looking at Matt.
You're the only one in there. I don't know these guys. I know you, so you're on. But I just, fix the system, fix the system, fix the system. Well, the system was being fixed until until the inauguration.
But was it though? I mean, it's a
listen.
That becomes the problem.
I asked Dave, and I'm going to ask you, how many people use that?
So I actually
know a lot.
have talked to a lot of people, even like Ukrainian people that had to sneak in. We had to bring in people that had to sneak their Ukrainian family, like you said, to Mexico to bring them across. I had a Cuban friend that, again, a libertarian Cuban, not very welcome in Cuba, had to go down to, like you said, Honduras.
Trying to wrap my head around that.
I met them. They were very nice people, and guess what? Didn't work out for them, so they had to come here and sneak across the border. And that was like you said, it was a valid reason to come, but they had to sneak across the border, right? So that becomes the inherent question is, how do we fix a system? And this goes back to pick anything. How do we fix a system when you have two parties that refuse to compromise, that refuse to even talk?
There it is.
And there it is. I mean, even right now with the big, beautiful, everything that gets proposed by one party, the other party's going to vote against it, right? And it just basically becomes basic math. Whichever party controls, they're going to pass because you know that you're not. It's like one of those things. It doesn't matter what bill you propose. You're not going to. Well, all of a sudden, half the Republicans support it and half the Democrats are against. You always know that people are going to vote party lines, and it doesn't matter what the bill is.
True. Mm-hmm. I'm with you.
Okay. And so that to me is the core of the argument. Until we are never going to fix anything, whether it's immigration, budget, spending, any of those things, and even look at what's happening to Tom Tillis. Tom Tillis, how dare you speak out against the big, beautiful bill? We are going to primary you. Thomas Massey, Rand Paul, how dare you stick with your...
Did Rand Paul end up voting yes?
I think he did.
Hypocrite.
But we can... Okay, let's take a break. I don't disagree, but we'll be back with more here on Summer of Chuck 2, the Electric Boogaloo, with
WJOB.
12:30
a.m. 104.7 FM. I never got to say 104.7 FM on the air.
I was going to let you do it at 8 o'clock.
We'll do it. All right.
Okay.